First at 11, News 13 spoke exclusively with the attorney representing a former Myrtle Beach church member who is speaking out about their client's experience with Solid Rock pastor John Paul Miller. Thank you for joining us at 11. I'm Edward Moody. Trish is off tonight. Miller recently filed a lawsuit against several people seeking restraining orders and money for harassment. Now, this former member is filing a counterclaim. This story sparked national attention following the death by suicide of John Paul's late wife, Micah, last spring. New at 11, News 13's Adriana Lawrence joins us in studio to break down what's in the counterclaim. Adriana.
Well, Edward, what I'm holding here are 18 pages of an answer and counterclaim attorney Regina Ward gave exclusively to News 13. Her client, Sam Rickman, who she says was friends with John Paul and Micah Miller, claims John Paul violated pastoral confidence and used intimidation to try and get what he wanted.
I find it quite intriguing that Micah, who looked for restraining orders, didn't get those, but Mr. Miller thinks they're going to be handed out like candy to him.
This is video of a process server attempting to serve papers to John Paul Miller at his home.
And here's the thing, man. Are you there? Are you there?
On January 10th, John Paul, representing himself, filed a lawsuit against Sam Rickman, seeking $7,500 for loss of income. He claims Rickman harassed him, both in public and online. Rickman and his family were members of Solid Rock Church for 3 years, serving as a bass player and graphic design artist. While serving in this capacity, Rickman claims he became, quote, disgusted in how John Paul regularly spoke about Micah, belittling her. He also states after he confided to Pastor John Paul about personal experiences and gave permission to disclose some details for a sermon, John Paul revealed more than he wanted.
And as we all know, he liked to record his sermons, and so that was published, and that caused a lot of emotional distress to my client.
It states on May 22nd, John Paul threatened Rickman to pay back $3,000, which was given as a scholarship for his child to attend school there if he didn't remove photos of a, quote, certain person off the church's website. It states his recommendation came from John Paul's lawyer. Since then, Rickman became involved in the Justice for Micah movement, at one point participating in a protest outside Solid Rock.
But someone standing outside and exercising their freedom of speech does not rise to a level of what I would call harassment or by any means a form of stalking for sure.
Regina Ward, an attorney representing Rickman, says John Paul provided no examples in his suit to back up his loss of income claim.
My client is not going to stand by. He's going to hold Mr. Miller accountable. He opened the door to this, and he has every right to file a countersuit against him.
Ward says she has no reason to believe the FBI has stopped its investigation into John Paul. She says she believes John Paul filed these lawsuits to silence and intimidate those who were close to him, like Rickman.
I can't imagine any other reason for Mr. Miller to file against Mr. Rickman unless he was concerned about whatever information my client may have that may be relevant to that investigation.
Now, we've reached out to John Paul and his lawyer, but have not gotten a response. The process server told me he tried a second time this evening to serve him, but John Paul won't answer the door. Ward says the next steps are deposition and jury trial. We've just scratched the surface in this story. You'll find more claims in Miller and Richmond's lawsuits at WBTW.com. Edward, back to you.